Hi, Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network. This is our weekly Divine Relationship Recovery Show with Deb Goldberg, although her name says Terry Angel, it's really Deb Goldberg. And before we get started, I'd like to take a few minutes and share with you some upcoming events that we have going on this week. It's a big week for us. We have on Saturday a dinner. Come to dinner with Enlightened World Network and Kevin Morris. That is at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Yes, that's early for dinner if you live on the East Coast, but Kevin lives in the UK, so it's late for him. So we're trying to come up with times that work for all of us. On Sunday, April 5th, we have a silent meditation at 10 o'clock Eastern Time in the morning. Beautiful time of coming together to meditate. And it's followed by Come to the Table at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Come to the Table is a fabulous time of sitting down with Deb Goldberg, Terry Angel, and I, and being able to ask questions about your spiritual growth, about your spiritual evolution, and just sitting with sisters, with soul sisters at the table, asking for input and advice, just comparing notes. So that's Come to the Table. Later that day at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, we're bringing back Kevin Morris and Terry Angel for a session called Acknowledge, Release, Heal workshop. I got to experience that workshop just the other day. They use angelic Reiki as well as some other meditation to really clear out stuck emotions you maybe didn't even know were in there. And of course, right now, with everything happening in our world, a lot of us are carrying emotions. Some of us stuffing them, some of us releasing them. But that workshop, it's free and it's about an hour, but it is really well worth your time. And then on Monday, April 6th, we have a new show. I think there's only going to be 3 in the series. It is called Sisters Supporting Sisters. That's a time to come together in the Zoom room and be able to chat with each other about being a light worker in today's world. Some of us need support to keep up that energy and that intention. Others of us are able to support at this time. So we welcome you to that. It'll be at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. All of this is available to you for free on Enlightened World Network on YouTube as well as Facebook. So with that, welcome, Deb. Thank you so much for this episode of Divine Relationship Recovery.
Well, thank you, Ruth. It feels like home to be here. So I love our community. I love you. I love Terry, and I love all of the people that are here joining us. Well, we have an interesting show tonight. It's called How Do You Recognize All the Aspects of Yourself Inside and Outside of Yourself that are asking for attention and awareness. So it's a very interesting concepts for us to talk about. And I was thinking about how things are in our world right now. And personally, with everything that we're going through, we should all be seeing lots and lots and lots of things in ourselves, coming up in ourselves and outside of ourselves that want attention. So I would like to start, though, with something that I received from Archangel Michael today. And I had been struggling with some thoughts myself that were fear-based, and wasn't about the virus itself, but it was about other things. And I needed some help in grounding myself. And so this is what came through. I shared it this morning, and I'm going to read it again because I thought it was pretty powerful. And these messages are not just for me, they're for everybody. So I'm going to share with you what he told me. Your body can only be love, well-being, and perfection. You made them with your consciousness. Your consciousness is purity. It is divine love, sacred, and holy. Your body can be no different than your mind, for it created you with love, and as of course I look at divine love as God. Your body is pure love, energy, emotion, vibrant health, for nothing else exists. Nothing can attack your purity and well-being but you believing otherwise. Your thoughts and beliefs are powerful, and even though you might try to attack your body, in truth, it is never harmed. Divine love can never be harmed. Giving power to anything over yourself is self-destructive. By believing in illness or anything else, like how food affects you, the air, medicine, people, the government, germs, evil, even the belief in ego, darkness, or any unconsciousness from believing in duality. This is what creates disease states. Nothing can change or alter the light of God, and you are the light of God. As you keep ascending into remembering the truth of who you are, as you spend more time with God or divine love, spirit, whatever you call your creator, the more time you spend with your creator helping you embody this truth, it will become easier to believe, accept, and allow this truth to become stronger in your divine truth rather than earthly constructs of cause and effect. Do not try to transcend your humanity. Accept and believe in your own divinity over all things. What a powerful message, right?
It's a beautiful, beautiful message. Absolutely. And Deb, have you seen that playing out in your own life? Well, we're going through this really strange time on the planet.
Sure. And I wanted to be clear today about, just because I talk about all of these things and I have been given this wisdom divinely, I'm still integrating all of them myself. And so what we're doing is, and what we're talking about today would be what you see in 3D. It's the earthly constructs of when we start to awaken, or even as you're awake and you might be stepping up higher into your ascension, we waffle back and forth. We waffle back into unconsciousness. We waffle back into the fears. We waffle back into duality. And so there's this dance that is always going on inside of us until we get more ascended and really embodying the truth of what we know about ourselves. So it's a dance that keeps happening. And so for me, I started having some fear about illness, and it wasn't the virus. So, but the message is the same. I was like, okay, I need to grab myself because I see what I'm doing in my mind, and it is affecting my peace right now, and I need some help. And so, so some imagery started to happen to try to help me, support me divinely. But then Michael brought forth this message, which I think is just so important as we keep going forward. We have to keep coming back to truth, to divine truth, to our knowingness of what we understand. But it is really, we're not trying to transcend our humanity. We're trying to really step into the truth of what we know about our divine self. And there is a waffling process. And it happens all the time.
I think there absolutely is a waffling process. And sometimes when people will say to me, so how are you doing? I'll say, well, what time is it? Because it shifts all the time. But that's just part of being human.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but I have found truly that the more I stay in my centered place of seeing myself as a divine being, having a physical experience. So my energy is first and foremost on the fact that I'm a divine being. Then everything else just kind of falls into place. And I have this immense calm that I really believe helps to calm the people around me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So, and we know that by us accepting peace, we accept it for the whole world. Right. So you can always go back to that. So you find yourself in a moment of falling back into unconsciousness of those beliefs, and you just shift yourself back into, oh, that's right. I know that stuff's not true. I need to do some breathing. I need to go for a walk. I need to talk to spirit, whatever it is that you need to do. Sometimes I journal, talk to a friend, whatever you need to do to help you reground yourself. And it is always coming back inside. And you hear a lot of people say, just put your hand on your heart, because you start feeling your heartbeat, and that kind of grounds you also.
Right.
Yeah, because your heartbeat, I look at that as my divine heartbeat. That's the way I see it.
Deb, one of the things we were talking about this morning, we've been asked by Archangel Michael to do a morning meditation for the week, every day this week, and it's a silent meditation. So folks are meditating with us, but Deb, Terry, and I are behind the scenes having our own meditation time. And we were told it's called Calm the Waters. And so as we are doing these meditations, we're not only calming the waters or the emotions inside of us, but also across the planet. Oh, I'm sorry. Across the planet as well. So the Calm the Waters it's a beautiful concept. But one of the things that I really saw with that, I saw that during the night. I woke up and I pictured myself on the rowboat with Jesus and Deb and Terry, because that's a visual that we've been given. And it was rocking. The waves were rocking. And I thought, if I weren't in spirit, I probably could fall out, right? I mean, it was that wild. And I thought, man, what has happened across the planet right now, in quotes, across the planet right now, that has got the emotions so turbulent? Yes, there is a lot going on across the planet, but then I also had to ask, what's going on in me right now that has my emotions this turbulent in the middle of the night? So I called Christ in to be with me, and it calmed me and calmed the waters. But I think what a nice little check-in for folks that are watching this, that they can just stop in their own meditative way and just touch bases. If I were in a boat in the middle of my emotions right now, what would this be feeling like? Is it calm? Is it choppy? Is it turmoil? What is it? So that's been really helpful to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great image. It is really a great image. And actually, I had that in one of my teachings from Jesus. During meditation, it just opens up, and here's me, Jesus, and John the Baptist in a boat. And it is rocking and rolling, and the waves are going. And I said, well, what's going on here? I felt really uncomfortable with all the rocking. We need to stop it. And I was told that I need to stop it, that I'm just feeling what is going on inside of me. And so I'm like, well, I don't know how to stop this. And so it was like, yeah, we're going to breathe. We're going to meditate. We're going to breathe and breathe and breathe. We're going to go to peace. And as you keep going to peace, the waves calm down until you have a sheet of glass. And, you could deep breathe do deep breathing for as long as you need to, because eventually the more you do it, the lower you come down in your anxiety, in your stress level. So whether that takes you doing 5 deep breaths or 10 or 25, it doesn't matter. It is our job to keep bringing us down. Like if you use a scale from 1 to 10 and you say, okay, I'm going to check in with myself. Where am I? And, using this boat analogy is great with the waves and saying, wow, it's really rocking and rolling. It feels like a 10 or an 8, whatever. I need to bring myself down to a 1. And so I'm going to just breathe. I'm just going to take deep breaths in through my nose or out through my mouth, or any other way that you really like to do deep breathing, and just keep doing it. And the more you keep doing it, you will come down to a 1. And if it starts all over again, you do deep breathing all over again. And I've gone through this practice over and over and over, because I've had to do this in myself repeatedly, especially in my earlier years of awakening, as I was so unsettled in my own emotions. And now I still need to use it because I get triggered just like everybody else does. So yeah, that boat analogy is just awesome. But them teaching me that, hey, you're just feeling yourself, and it is your job to calm you down. And we're going to sit here with you, and we're going to help you do this. And you're going to connect into understanding who you are, the love and light. But let's take some breaths and do this. And so it was such a lesson for me. And I'm glad we're bringing it up again, because it is a great tool to use. And we're all about tools right now, right? Tips and tools to help us stay present and stay in peace. One of the other thoughts I had that came through is going through different stages in our ascension of, I want the peace of God. I have the peace of God. I am the peace of God. Different stages of ascension of where you are. But I can also go through all of those stages in a day of
in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes, right, based on what it is. And keep bringing yourself back to remembering you are the peace of God. There is nothing else. But this takes practice, and it is a lifelong journey. And everybody's doing it right wherever they are. So with that, how about we just close our eyes for a couple minutes, and let's just do some deep breathing right now to get us feeling as peaceful as we can. So let's take a really deep cleansing breath in through our nose and release it out through our mouth. Take another breath. And I just want to remind people that if you're not used to taking deep cleansing breaths, sometimes you can feel a little lightheaded and dizzy. So you want to not take deep breaths so close to each other in a row. You can go back into your own natural breathing rhythm and then go back into taking a really deep breath in again. It's amazing how shallow our breath can become. But every time you're taking a really deep breath in, I want you to imagine that you're drawing yourself closer to divine love, that you're returning home in this moment to bring in all the peace and love and joy as we sit and talk about this topic. We take in another deep breath of expansiveness into our mind, into our heart. So we can reflect on what we're hearing today, what comes through. And I keep reminding myself that we came here forgetting that we are already whole and one with everything. And our greatest accomplishment on earth is remembering this and then embodying it, which for each one of us is a different journey, a lifelong journey. So when you're ready, open your eyes, come back to present.
I wanted to stay there, Deb. I really, I didn't want to come back because it just is such a calm, neutral place. Great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And, you know, trying to actually maintain a state of peace is what we're all here to do, because that is our natural, it's our natural state of being. It's peace and happiness.
Right.
So today's topic is, how do you recognize all the aspects of yourself, inside and outside of yourself, that are asking for attention and awareness? And like I mentioned before, within, we're going to have feelings coming up constantly, especially now, of what we're going through. This is like a major transition for a lot of people, and transition of lifestyle, of our day-to-day routines. And most people don't really like change. I'm not always very fond of it, or I don't roll with it as easy as I can. That's one of our spiritual lessons, is to allow and accept and align with whatever's happening in the moment. It is our perspective of how we view the experience that either creates a peaceful experience for us, or it can be very conflictual and it doesn't feel good. Resistance, fighting what is happening. And believe me, I've spent a lot of time in that place over the last 5.5 years anyway, within my awareness of resisting what is. So right now, you're going to have so much sensing going on of thoughts, feelings, and reactions to what your thoughts are, because thoughts do cause feelings. If we don't like what we're feeling, check in with what you're thinking. So we get triggered. We get triggered, just like we're talking about, by all kinds of things, by fears, by your family, by what's happening outside of you. And it's really shaking us up to be able to really view a whole perspective of ourselves. So it makes all these aspects come out that normally that we shove down. And we're like, maybe I don't want people to see that part of me. Maybe I feel vulnerable and I don't like sharing that. But actually, part of our ascension here is learning how to be vulnerable, how to keep our hearts open all of the time, rather than shutting down, rather than detaching. So all these aspects of yourself are going to pop up. And I always think that we have all the little children inside of us that are really crying out for love when they get scared. And so you might find yourself doing things or acting certain ways, or watching other people do it, that like, oh wow, like they look like they're 5 years old right now, or I feel like I'm 5 years old, or I want to go back in bed and pull the covers over my head and make believe that this isn't happening.
You know, Deb, it's been fascinating to watch and live it, but watch it over the last couple weeks, really, because the first week, everything was in upheaval.
Mhm.
Every construct that we thought we believed in and knew was gone. Every single construct, every level of us as a person, the physical, the social, the emotional, the spiritual, everything was kind of thrown up in the air. And this week feels a little different to me. And I'm curious if you have felt this, because now it's a different normal, but there's a bit of a routine that's been able to be put into place. And so it feels like people have kind of settled in. Oh, I know what this looks like. This looks like I'm going to the pantry for lunch instead of going out for lunch.
Mhm.
It looks like I'm having peanut butter and an apple again for a meal. You know, but it's a new normal. And I think it'll be really interesting as things either deconstruct more or start coming together a little bit more,
Mhm.
because they're all transitions.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, very curious what's coming up for individual people as they're finding the new normal, to know that that new normal is going to be upset all over again.
Mhm. Yeah, and you know, we have an audience with us, so we're please, if you have any comments, please, or questions, please put them in the comment bar in the Facebook. We would love to hear from you. There is a phone number on the top of this video in the posts. You can call into that. And it is, we are finding a new normal. There's a settling in. And I know that for now, I think they had put through April, that everybody is going to be in the situation that they are right now, that things are not going to change for a while unless something else changes that. So, yeah, so there is a new normal setting in, and there is, we, we can also look at our habits, what we're experiencing, starting new habits, making changes. A lot of people are like working on their houses, cleaning stuff out that they never had time to, taking walks with their family. But so it gives you really an opportunity. And I think things have maybe settled down in that way of like, okay, we got to hunker down for another month. This is kind of where it is right now. And the only power you have is how you perceive what's happening, and how you go about with that perception is how you go about the rest of the month in coping with it. And is a real time for you to get to know yourself really well. And so we all have these different aspects. We have all of these different character traits. We have, we're like a one-man show, all wrapped up in all the, having all the characters within ourselves. And so, especially under stress, you get to meet all of them because they're popping up. They're like, hey, I'm here, and you can't push me down, because the more you keep pushing me down under stress, I'm going to just pop up. So we have a comment right now. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, I'll share it with you.
Okay.
So our friend Linda said, I really felt the fear energy from the collective the first few days, but I'm feeling more of a peace now, but I don't watch news.
Mhm.
I'm not real focused on the virus negativity, but I'm feeling it coming together. And I would say, absolutely, I see so many positive, perhaps unintended consequences, but really heartwarming and beautiful things that are happening across the planet, people to people, and how folks are connecting with each other and caring for each other.
Yeah, that is great awareness, because it is creating more unity. the isolation is creating more unity. Is really interesting, the dichotomy of that, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, there's different levels of learning of where we are in our ascension process. So I just want to address that. So while we are in the 3D ascension into what people use dimensions, I don't usually use dimensions, but I know I'm using these because I know some people relate to them. Moving into 5D, you are going to still see everything as you're feeling the collective. As you keep moving forward in your ascension process, what you realize that everything is inside of you. And so that you are only feeling yourself. God has told me this over and over again. I'm like, make it stop. Like, or why am I feeling other people's energy? And it's really, if it's disconcerting to me. And he said, Deb, you are only feeling yourself. And so when we keep going back to everything is happening within us, nothing is happening outside of us. But when we're in other places in our ascension, yes, and I waffle back into that, like, why am I feeling that from such and such or whatever? And I have to keep reminding myself, I am feeling my own self. Consciousness cannot be divided. You are all divine consciousness. You are one with divine love. It cannot be divided. So I can't feel something else other than that is inside of me, if that makes sense. So we have to keep remembering. And then you bring yourself to peace, but you can see other people outside of you not in peace. And so why is it sometimes that I can not pick up on other people's energy and I could stay in my peace? How does that happen? Right? So you start to understand that everything is coming from within you. Everything you feel is within you. And we are always feeling on different levels. So I could feel really confident and be sitting in my truth, and I have something tugging on me, trying to drag me back into fear, or they're afraid of, I'm afraid of something at the same moment. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and I will actually, at times, not even really want to acknowledge that part because I feel so strong in my confidence. But we have to acknowledge all these little levels of what's going on inside of us. Because as I said, as these other aspects pop up, they feel differently. The reason why it feels so, everything feels so real when you allow yourself to feel on all those different levels, or a whole bunch of things, you can have different emotions at the same time. This is my thinking. This is also 3D into 5D, is that there is no time and space. So you are actually still 5 at the moment. You're still 10. You just got born. You're 100, or how old you are when you die. You are all things in every single now moment. You are every age of yourself. And so everything is happening at the same time. And they're just patterns that just keep repeating over and over and over again because they need to be cleared. So you might have something that happened to you when you're 5, and that just keeps poking up, and the way that you handled things at 5 years old. So this is another aspect of us that, many of us will tuck back down because we don't want to see that. We don't want other people to see it, and we don't want to deal with it. But it will keep coming up. And it's coming up because it needs to be brought into your awareness. You need to have compassion for what is going on inside of you on different levels. And you need to bring love to yourself, which is a whole nother way of having to do that. Is this making sense?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I have learned to really like about this time is, because everything is sort of thrown up into the air, I get to choose what is really important to me. Mm-hmm. What do I really want to put time toward? What do I want to stop doing in my life? And I get to recreate. who I want to be from now forward. What a gift that is. So I'm actually a little hesitant to allow myself to get into routines, even though they're fake routines, because, well, temporary routines. Because if I get into a routine, then I stop exploring those parts of me. I fall into the routine. So for me personally, I'm trying to not get comfortable, to keep looking at all of my clutter, whether it's the clutter in my home or the clutter in my heart, the clutter in my brain, and stay in that place of disequilibrium. Because for me, that's where the growth is.
Mm-hmm. It is. And that's so true, Ruth. It is, the growth is always in being accepting of yourself and what's happening in the moment so that you can, it's always about opening your heart and bringing more love to yourself to see what's there. It's accepting the whole you. The whole you. So now, if we go back to the mirror concept of what a 3D world is outside of you. So you're seeing aspects in each person of your own self, things that we keep hidden from ourselves, aspects that maybe we don't like so much, or aspects that we do like. And so you're seeing this in all different peoples. And it is there to get your attention so that you could start seeing your wholeness.
Linda's got another comment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Linda says, this all makes sense, Deb. We have been kind of forced to go within because of the fear and all the different levels of feelings that we are feeling. Mm-hmm. We have to clear it, otherwise we just feel icky. It is all about choice now. And that last sentence is so broad and so perfect, Linda. Well done, well done.
Well done is right, yes. This is about stepping into our power some more and choosing what it is that we want to keep and what we want to get rid of. So I was just thinking that, you have financial fears come up right now because a lot of people aren't working and are not getting paid, especially if you're self-employed or you got laid off. And so the fear of money, and I want you to think about, so you have your own fear of money, right? And then you think about how much teaching, programming you've had from your parents or grandparents about what it is to not have money, right? And what maybe other generations went through. Then they went through some really tough times. And so you have all of this programming streaming into you about what it means to be scared about money right now and what it might mean. This is all, money. When I was talking before, when I talked about Michael's message, money, so these are all things that we idolize, and that talks, of course, the Miracles talks about this too, is idolizing everything outside of us, including the virus, illness, money. So when we put all of our hope or fears into outside constructs, and then, like you said, they're all falling apart now. It is a place for you to really start looking at, what is it that I believe? What do I want to believe? It is a chance to get so close to God and have that be your only hope and faith, knowing that you are abundant, knowing that you are all things, knowing that you are limitless. So this is a moment to go inside and check in and get that truth and your hope, and of truly putting everything into knowing that God is good and God is going to take care of you, even though it looks really crappy sometimes. one door closes, another one opens.
Right.
And so this is about us opening up inside individually to grow and step into our power, into what is really driving us, what is our guidance system, and developing such an intimate relationship of trust and faith that it doesn't matter what happens outside of you, because you know that you are always taken care of. Now, I'm not saying this is an easy practice. This is something that you have to be willing to do. It's like, am I going to put all my hope in money, or am I going to put all my hope in God, knowing that what he tells me is true and that I am always taken care of?
Right. Standing in that divine light
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over.
Every moment.
Yeah, it's a choice.
It's a choice. Every moment. Do I go back to what I know, or do I go back to outside constructs? So I started talking about the mirror and seeing all of these fragments of ourselves. And I had this picture that was really cool, and it's a mirror with just strips of fragments with somebody's face in it. But I tried to blow it up and to show it to you, but it just didn't work. But you can get the idea of what this image looks like. And so this has happened to me, and this happens to me on and off, and and this is because we're not accepting the wholeness of every single aspect of ourselves, the whole complexity of who we are as people, as a divine being. And I'll look at somebody and I'll be like, oh, I see, I'm seeing this, and I don't really care for that in them. Or I see this and I don't really care for that. And really what we're doing is missing the whole essence of that being, that they're a divine being, and that's not that one or two fragments that we see. Those aspects do not define us. It is just a part of who we are. And if we look at all of us, we could all say, well, there's probably a part of me that I like better than another part of me. And the whole journey is about learning to love every aspect of yourself, that it's God-given and it's there for a purpose. And so we tend to look at ourselves as fragments. I'm going to look at myself as a work person. I really like my work ethic, and I'm not, and I went through that, focusing on who I was in my career, and the intimacy side of relationships I was not as good in. And so all of my confidence was coming from work, when really it needs to come from you're a spiritual divine being, that God gives you the confidence. And so then we keep fragmenting ourselves. Every time we have something happen through our life that hurts us, we develop another aspect of ourselves, an adaptation really of, I don't want that to happen again, or I don't ever want to feel this way, so I'm going to do this now. I'm going to add this into my personality, or my behavior, or my character traits. I'm going to be this so that I can avoid that. Or I'm going to be this so then I could get people to like me. And so we see all these fragments of ourselves outside in the mirror in other people. Now I can look at some people and go, wow, like I see them as a whole person, and I'm just like, oh my God, I see their whole beautiful being. And then I get triggered and I look at, and because this is what we're doing in our own self. We're projecting everything. Everything is a projection out of our mind, our consciousness, our projection of the love and fear that is inside of us, sitting side by side. We're projecting our internal dynamic out into the world. So we judge people as we're judging ourselves.
I think we all do that.
Mm-hmm.
On a daily basis, yes. I think, looking at ourselves in that whole piece, I think what a nice time that we're in right now, that we do get to look at, if we take the time to do it, we do get to look at all those aspects of ourselves, and we get to decide, what do we want to keep? What do we want to let go? I would encourage us to allow our neighbors and our partners, our children, our parents to do the exact same thing, because everybody's under this exact same sort of transition.
Right, right. So it's learning, accepting, and allowing yourself to be your whole full self. So if I developed a behavior to ward off something or to get something, now I don't have to be manipulative. I don't have to use an aspect of behavior anymore, because now this is the key. If you don't have a relationship with divine love teaching you who you are, and you actually feeling it and knowing it gets rough to do this without that, because you have to keep coming home to that. You have to keep coming home to divine love and its unconditional love, and helping you know these questions about yourself, that it's helping you understand you. So I don't have to be manipulative anymore to get my needs met, because I know God takes care of me. This is a huge place to go to in your ascension. And the more that you have that unconditional love allowing you to be yourself, and so that you can see yourself, because God says, I love you. I don't know what you're looking at, but I love you as you are, right? So then when my 5-year-old self pops up and I start doing things that maybe I wouldn't normally do, God's saying, it's okay, because I'll ask. I'm like, look what I'm doing here. Like, this is weird, And he's like, it's okay. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. So I could actually have the experience of me, a part of me. And then I can say, like you said, okay, I don't really need to do that anymore. I don't have to pretend or whatever, because I know that I'm loved exactly as I am. I am a whole being with all of what the nonsense that you could think about yourself, that you are divine and perfect. And I was using the term imperfectly perfect, but really we are perfectly perfect, because it is who we are. And there's nothing wrong with any part of you. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. But what we're doing, like you said earlier, we're clearing out the clutter. We're clearing out the clutter, like, okay, I don't need this behavior anymore. Or I don't need to have this belief in this construct anymore, because it's not serving me and it's not true. And some things are easier to let go of than others, because some constructs are so embedded, so deep, and illness is one of them. So this is a process of being really compassionate and loving to yourself as you're letting go and looking at each piece and saying, what do I want to do with this? I go through that with taking medicine. I have to take medicine for things I've been diagnosed with medically. And I go through this process of, I don't believe in having to take medicine. I don't believe in illness. Why am I showing up at my pill box every day? Why is it? And I've gone through an experience of telling the doctor, I don't think I need this anymore. I'm not taking it anymore. Okay. And the doctor's like, oh, you can't do that, la, la, la. And for a year, I stopped taking something. And I go back in just to check, blood work. And they're like, oh, well, this is bad. And I'm like, well, I don't feel bad. Well, you really need to get back on this. So you're constantly having contrast for all of your constructs, constantly. And there is absolutely no wrong or right. So it doesn't mean that, even though right now and intellectually I understand, I have not integrated into the rest of my being that I don't have to take medicine for something. And so therefore, until that gels together, that my mind is working with my divine mind, I keep doing what I need to do. So I show up at my pillbox and I take it. And when God says, one day you'll walk up to it and you'll say, you know what, I really don't need to do this anymore because it's broken now. I was trying to force myself into breaking a construct that I wasn't ready to do. And you can't do it. All it does is create more conflict inside of yourself. Like, I don't want to believe this anymore. Why do I know this divine truth. Why do I keep showing up and doing this opposite thing? Well, it just takes time. And there is no right or wrong time. It is divine time. And God is transforming you. You are not doing this on your own. God decides when it's time to pull up the veil and you get some more wisdom or you get more transformation, which is actually happening every single day. You are transforming every minute in a subtle way that you don't even notice it. But God is in charge of your transformation. And allowing that takes the pressure off of having to fix yourself all the time.
I keep hearing the theme, be gentle with yourself.
Yeah. Especially now.
Especially now.
When you have so many constructs coming up inside of you so that you can see what you believe, how you act, what your thought process is. Be very gentle with yourself right now and do not judge any part of it, because as you go along in your ascension, what you will start to see is you won't see fragments of yourself anymore in the outside world, because you'll start accepting yourself as whole. You'll see every face as the face of God. And so where I can spend time in that space, I still waffle back and forth. And so no matter what you see come up inside of you, you are still the essence of God. There is only perfection inside of you. And it is so important to embrace yourself and the experience that you're having with love, unconditional love, and compassion, because most of us have not been taught compassion. I know I was not when I grew up. I had no compassion for myself at all. It was sort of like, pull up your bootstraps and get on with it, right? So this is something we have to learn, is that you can't slap yourself out of whatever you're going through.
Right. You can't make yourself have compassion if it isn't something that you embrace. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and everybody's going through it. Everybody is in the same place of what the heck, and how do we move forward? So compassion for your neighbor, for your kids, for your husband, that everybody is in uncharted territory.
Exactly. And, everybody's been crying for change. We want the politics to change. We want this to change all over the world, right? We want these peoples to change. We want that to change. And the whole light worker community wants to change and go higher. So everybody's been asking for change. Well, we got this amazing opportunity for change. Be gentle and have correct expectations of yourself and other people while they are going through this transformation. That's what it is. It's a transformation for every single person.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Deb.
Thank you. So before you close out, this is the closing that I've been given, is we say goodbye for now, knowing we are one love, protected and held in divine order by our Creator. Go out this day in this awareness and allow God's peace and joy to occupy every thought. Lead with your heart and welcome everyone home, for all are loved.
You're bringing tears, Mrs. Goldberg. That's beautiful.
You're welcome. Ruth, is there anything you want to say before we leave?
You know, here at Enlightened World Network, we have such love for each of you that are with us on YouTube and Facebook. This is such a safe community, and I hope that you are feeling that. Do know that there are all kinds of programs available on Enlightened World Network coming to you live every single day right now, because we feel you and we're living right next to you, experiencing all of these things too. So please reach out to us. This is your community. It's our community, it's your community. So thank you, Deb, for this beautiful time together today. I think this is my very favorite of the Divine Relationship Recovery shows so far. I probably say that every week, but this one is my favorite. Just so much love, so much love.
Bye-bye, everyone. Love you all.
Love you all. Take care and God bless.